What's up, everybody? Welcome to the NoPixAfterDarkPodcast with your host, Aaron Dante, who brings you the hottest interviews with the dopest people sharing their experiences all across the world. Now, here's your host, Aaron Dante.
Welcome to the No Picks After Dark podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Dante. Today, folks, we have an amazing show for you. You know I'm always bringing the heat to you. I mean, this is the end of the season of the summer. You know how it is. It's hot out here, but we had to come a little west. I-70 west. We out here. You know, my cell phone service stopped working a little bit, but it came back as soon as we got to the city. So without further ado, we have an amazing guest, and it's an honor and pleasure to have the mayor of Hagerstown on the No Picks After Dark show, Miss Emily Keller. How are you doing, Mayor Keller? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Yes. Welcome to Hagerstown.
Oh man, we just had an amazing lunch at Bulls and Bears. Shout out to them.
Yes.
Was it Bulls and Bears, right?
Yep.
And
pistachio salmon salad.
Oh yeah, that changed his life a little bit. That's some good stuff. It's good stuff. So thank you for having us out here. You have an amazing city.
Thank you.
I've only been here for a short while, and the personality, I'm vibing. I love what's out here. We have to come back out here.
Absolutely.
Got to get invited back out here. So, tell us a little bit about you. Like, what's your story, Miss Mayor? You know, I heard some things that you are the youngest mayor ever in Hagerstown and the first female mayor. Tell us a little bit about that.
I am. So I am 35 years old. I'm from Hagerstown. I graduated from South Hagerstown High School in 2004. I'm a mom. That's my most important title. I have an almost 14-year-old daughter named Layla. That means she's currently 13, so I'm accepting any prayers anyone would like to send. I'm the owner-operator of a farmer's insurance and financial agency. And back in 2016, I kind of got interested in paying attention to local politics here in Washington County, and here I am.
I love it. So I always ask every person that comes on the show, what is your favorite childhood memory growing up?
I have a lot of them, but I actually ice skated when I was younger, and I got to skate in the Hagerstown ice rink because we have an ice rink here that opened about probably 25 years ago. So growing up in the ice rink was some of my favorite childhood memories, and I lived on a dead-end street. My parents actually still live there, and we had a pretty close-knit community. So all of the 6 kids on the block, we all still talk, and doing things with them is up there in priority on my memories.
So you don't have to ask the question.
Go ahead.
Were you Team Nancy Kerrigan or Team Tanya Hardin?
That's a tough one. Nancy Kerrigan all day, but Tanya Harding was a better skater. It's a shame she threw it away.
I had to ask the question. I had to. So growing up, I mean, you grew up here. This is what cool things were around when you grew up here, that made you want to stay around here?
So, believe it or not, I actually didn't want to. In high school, I kind of always felt out of place. I was a little bit of a wild child, I had tattoos, and I was 15 and shaved my head, and I dyed the teeny bit of hair I had pink. And I just never felt like I really fit in here in Hagerstown. It was a lot more rural then. And so when I turned 18, I moved to Philadelphia, and I was like, I'm going to be the city girl. I was supposed to be in the city. That's where I'm supposed to be. And then 2 years into living in Philadelphia, I was like, I miss the mountains and the grass and the more slow-paced life. So I moved home, and I realized very quickly I am indeed not a big city girl. Although Hagerstown definitely is progressing from where we were back then, and we're becoming a more urban type city, which is a very good change, I think.
So you're more of a country girl then?
No, I'm not that. I'm somewhere lost in between the two, I think.
That's what's up. So, all right, you came back home, and what was your first gig, job, just when you came back? What were you doing?
So I worked for Citibank, actually. Citi used to have a really big campus here in Hagerstown. They had 2,500 employees. It was one of our biggest employers here. Now, of course, with the world going more remote, they are kind of all working from home. But that was my first thing back when I was 21.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And now you have your other side hustle. I call everybody got hustles out here. Well, your main hustle before this,
Yes.
Insurance,
My
correct?
real job.
Insurance?
Yes.
Okay. What made you
Yeah.
want to get insurance? Why did you want to get into that gig? That's always interesting how people get into that.
It is, for sure. A good friend of mine actually was competing for an agency with State Farm, and he needed a salesperson, and I did sales at Citi, and I liked it. So he had reached out to me, and I never thought about being in insurance before, but I studied, I got my license, and I went to work for him. And really, insurance and banking, I think, are the two professions left where you still have face-to-face interaction. I mean, there's a lot of online, but there are still people who want to come in, shake hands, talk, and I'm a people person. I like communicating. So I had an opportunity to open my own agency, actually, with Farmers Insurance. They were just coming east, and they're a huge insurance brand, but they hadn't been in the East Coast prior to that. So I was able to bring a billion-dollar national brand to my hometown and my home county. I was the first one here. I got to get in and set the footprint. So I just celebrated 7 years in May.
Nice. Yeah. So let's talk about 2016.
Yes.
2016 is when you became a new member of City Council, correct?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Let's give because I want people to get a little background, a little bit about you and why you got into City Hall. And did you ever picture yourself being in City Council?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you would have told me 7 or 8 years ago that I would be in politics, I would have told you, hell no. Am I allowed to say that? Heck no.
You can say whatever you want.
So, no way. It's just, I would have never imagined that this was the way that my life would go. But my very best friend, her name was Ashley. We met the first day of kindergarten, so she was literally my first friend. And she really struggled with a heroin addiction and had a pretty intense substance use disorder for years. And I learned a lot about heroin addiction specifically through loving her and trying to help her. And I just watched the system fail her over and over and over again. Ashley wasn't hurting anyone but herself. And anytime she would get arrested, she would have personal use heroin, a needle, paraphernalia, and it was prior to the laws changing as to how they are now. So she just kept getting 90-day jail sentences for violation of probation. And I'm sitting here screaming she doesn't need 90 days in jail, she needs help. She needs treatment, she needs help, she's sick. This is a disease, and I watched heroin literally take everything from her. So at around the end of 2015, then former mayor Bob Brucci, who is now a councilman here in the city, he came to my office and he said, I'm going to run for mayor in 2016 and I'm going to win. And he said, I need a good council. You should consider running. And my first answer was absolutely not. No way do I want to be in that world. And I did start paying attention, though, as a business owner and seeing how the effects of local government really affect things locally. I mean, even more so than the national political stage that we hear so much about. And I looked around at county government, and quite frankly, it was all old white men that had been in office for a very long time. Here in the city of Hagerstown, there was a lot of people who have been elected over and over and over again. One woman, just a real lack of diversity and definitely a lack of young people involved. So I started paying attention, and then Ashley unfortunately went to jail again, and I just sat back and thought, how can I help her? How can I do more other than learning about substance use disorder and becoming a student of that world? And I thought, you know what? No one in Washington County, as bad as our numbers are, as many heroin overdoses as we had, and just as many issues as we were facing, no one in local government was really talking about it. Our health department was screaming from the rooftops about our problem, and I just didn't see any local government leaders speaking about it. So she called me from jail in January of 2016, and I said, I think I'm going to run. I think I'm going to run to try to give you a voice and to have a bigger platform to try to make change, because there's so much that needs to be done in the realm of substance use. So I did. I filed to run, and I talked about that issue, and it really resonated with our community, because really at the time there wasn't a family that hadn't been impacted either directly or indirectly. And so thankfully in April had to be top 10 of the candidates, and I was in third, so I got to move on to the primary, which was on the presidential ticket in November. Unfortunately, on June 27, 2016, Ashley died from an overdose. And it was absolutely the worst day of my life. And my daughter was 8 at the time, was with me when I found out, and just this, you know, it is almost like I knew it was coming, but it doesn't make it any easier. You know, when you're watching your best friend completely destroy their life and you can't save her. I couldn't save her. And so after I digested what had happened to her, I realized I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm exactly where I need to be. And I always promised her that I would be loud for her. So I got a tiger roaring tattooed on my wrist. So I always remember to be loud. And thankfully, come the general election in November, I won. I was the top vote getter. And that set this strange world of politics that I'm now in. So,
well, folks, we just gave you a little appetizer right there. We're about to hit to the main dish in a minute, so we'll be right back after these messages. And folks, we are back at the NoPixAfterDarkPodcast with Miss Mayor Emily Keller. How are you?
I'm great.
Hey, we're rocking and rolling right now.
Absolutely.
You gave us a really good story, and we really appreciate you telling your story. Your friend, that's pretty deep right there, to be honest with you. You know, and you run it on just her memory and making sure there's a voice out there for her. That's huge. That's huge.
Appreciate that.
Now, the purple thing you have on your wrist, what is that?
Yes, so Washington Goes Purple.
Okay.
It's an organization here in Washington County. The Goes Purple movement was actually started by a sheriff in Talbot County. He did Talbot Goes Purple. And while he was running for sheriff in the midst of the heroin opioid epidemic we have, he was meeting with parents and hearing, they talk to their kids about alcohol, talk to their kids about cigarettes. And he would ask, do you talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription pill misuse? And we know 75 to 82% of heroin users begin with prescription pills first. And it was trending less than 15% of parents were actually having that conversation. So here we're in the middle of the deadliest health crisis in U.S. history, which is the opioid epidemic. And we're not giving our kids the tools to make the decisions of hey, just because it comes from a doctor doesn't mean it's safe, right? And just because it's prescribed to you doesn't mean it's safe for me. So he started this initiative, an education movement. So here in Washington County, me and Vicki Sterling, who is the director of behavioral health of the health department, decided to kind of follow suit, and we took it and ran with it. So Washington Goes Purple, it's an education movement specifically for our kids to talk to them about the dangers of prescription pills and other drugs, but also education for our community. We Narcan train and make sure people have Narcan readily available to them. We do prescription take-back events, so people are locking up their prescriptions. And something we started here, I think, is the first of its kind for sure. We do actual walking drug take-back events. So we have to have a uniformed police officer. We take a Washington Goes Purple volunteer, a uniformed police officer. A lot of times the fire department comes, and we literally go door to door. And we provide information about what Washington Goes Purple is, and we say, do you have any unused or unwanted medication? We want to make sure your home is safe. We'll take it from you. And we have collected literally thousands of pounds of unwanted medication or unused medication that was just sitting in medicine cabinets. It's really the most incredible thing I've ever done. One, if you ever want to see something comical, knock on people's doors randomly with a uniformed police officer, because some of the responses can be quite funny, but when they hear why we're there, people are so appreciative. I mean, we've had people whose husband has passed away while in hospice, and they have bags of morphine they don't know what to do with, and just random circumstances that really put you at risk. Washington Goes Purple, it's a huge education movement, and with September being Recovery Month right right now we are literally going purple, and we've had a ton of recovery events. Just Saturday, we had a recovery walk that close to 300 people came. Olympic BMX coach Tony Hoffman, who is in recovery, came here from Texas to speak, and just a really good, positive, recovery-oriented things, because we hear so much about the negatives of the people dying and the people struggling, of all of the downside of addiction, and we really want people to know that recovery is absolutely possible.
I love it. I love hearing that. It brings me back to, I remember I had a lot of college friends who they would participate in Adderall, and that was a big thing in college. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody. I did Adderall because I needed to do papers. That was what it was in college.
Yes.
And now I'm thinking about all those times that friends were selling Adderall, like 5 and 10 milligrams,
yes,
and selling them. Now it's getting me thinking about how crazy that is and how people get hooked real quick on that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like legal methamphetamine almost. It's just, a little safer because it's made in a lab.
Right,
right. But for sure, I mean, people think if something is prescribed to you, it's safe for me, and it's really not the case. But you're right. I mean, Adderall is an incredible example of that.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you said that was interesting to me, if you knock on my door with the cops, I ain't opening the door. I'm just letting you know, Miss Mayor, no offense, but I ain't opening that damn door.
We definitely have had some people who have been frozen solid in their doorstep, but I always start out with handing them information. That way they can immediately see Washington goes purple, and it's like, oh, okay.
I don't even care. I don't care if I know you. I ain't opening the damn door. I love the police, but I ain't opening the door for you. So let's talk about you running for mayor in 2020. Yeah. Give us a little background about that. I mean, you dipped your toe in the water, I always say, when you did the city council. Mm-hmm. Then you're like, all right, I'm about to go to the mayor. Some serious stuff. That's serious.
It is.
So tell us about your thoughts about going from city councilwoman to now the woman. You are the person. You are in charge. All eyes are on you right now.
Well, I really struggled with the decision to run for mayor. I did. Come 2020, I had to decide if I wanted to be in politics anymore. If I did, I had to rerun for my seat on council or run for mayor. And our former mayor, Mayor Brucci, and I kind of sat down, and he told me he was going to run for council. So I just started watching, seeing who was filing to run for mayor, and kind of contemplating it. But at the same time, I'm like, is this the right decision? Should I just stay where I'm at? I felt like I was an effective council member. So it was a big decision. But my daughter, she's 13, so she was 12 at the time, knew I would be the first woman mayor. And she really kept saying, Mom, run for mayor. And I thought about it, and the whole reason I did this is because of, substance use issues. And I thought, okay, if I'm the mayor, well, I have a bigger voice and a bigger platform, and can I advocate for more change? And I knew we had some really, really good people running for council. And I thought, all right, if we can get a lot of momentum and a positive voice and some positive change in the mayor's seat and have a really good council, Hagerstown can do its thing. And so I said, all right, I'm giving in to Layla. I'm running for mayor. And then my daughter made me a really cool logo that had my hair on the O of the mayor and the word mayor, and we did it.
I love it. So where were you at that moment when you heard the results that you won? Take us through that moment.
So I had a private event at the Art Gastro Pub, which was a restaurant downtown here owned by my good friend Ian Harshman, but DJ Ian Carey, who just recently passed away. And Ian was gracious enough to close his restaurant to the public because it was COVID and I didn't want to have big thing, but I wanted my friends and family and my daughter there. So I turned all the TVs off because I didn't want to be wrapped up in the national political extravaganza that was happening. And we just had a laptop, and I had it on the Washington County Board of Elections site. And so we were just kind of hanging out, and I started updating the website, and I saw that results were being loaded. So I waited a second and got my daughter and refreshed it. And at that time, all the precincts weren't in, but I was ahead by a pretty significant margin that the writing was kind of on the wall. So I hugged her first. It's funny, when I won in 2016, she was 8. And I dropped on the floor to hug her because she was very little and I was crying. And then she told me later she didn't know if I had won or lost because I was crying. So this time I made sure to be specific, like I won. And it was a cool moment. My friends were there, my close friends, and my mom and dad. And it was exciting. And Councilmember McIntyre, Shelley, and Councilmember Burnett, Tierra, they were next door. So we all kind of met in the middle of Potomac Street and had a little celebration. It was nice.
Shout out to Councilwoman Shelley.
Yes.
I gotta give the shout out to her because she's the one who made this happen. So shout out to you. We met actually at one of my sponsors' restaurant, Maggie's Farm, and Councilwoman Shelley was like, "Hey, you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Hey, I do." And she was like eavesdropping on the hustle. It was nice to eavesdrop, but it was cool though. I'm glad she introduced herself and she told me what she's going on, what's going on in Hagerstown. And she said something that we're going to get into a little bit later on. But she was like, "Did you know they call Hagerstown Little Baltimore?" And at that point, all 3 people were like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?" And she was like, "I'm telling you." So, Mayor Emily and I are going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But shout out to Councilwoman Shelley for having me get here. Again, hospitality has been amazing here in Hagerstown. So when you won, it's a COVID year. You won in COVID. Like, I mean, what trials and tribulations? That's trials and tribulations at itself because you can't knock on doors. You can't tell people who you are. You can't. There's no debates. There's nothing like that. It's just nothing. Mm-hmm. What was the first thing, like, when you got, like, sworn in? Like, what was, like, some of the 3 things that you wanted to start right away that you knew, that what you ran on, that you wanted to make sure that you cemented your legacy?
So one of the biggest things I ran on as far as community-related things was that we wanted to take the council, the mayor and council, to the community. Because some people just aren't comfortable coming to City Hall. Our meetings are open. Anyone can come to any meeting. But we really wanted to go out in the community and have community input meetings. And unfortunately, obviously, in November, December, January, February, that just couldn't happen. So what we did instead was we did a community survey that we mailed out to residents, and then we opened it up online to get community feedback. We figured since we can't come to you, we're going to give you an outlet to talk to us directly and see, what you think our strengths and weaknesses are, what you would like to see for Hagerstown. So we improvised. Now, of course, hopefully numbers start coming back down. People get vaccinated, and this crisis hopefully is behind us some point. I don't know what normal will look like in the future, but when it does get somewhat normal, we want to definitely go out into the community. Another thing that's very important to me is that we're reachable. I'm just a normal person. I'm just a normal person. I live in the South End. I have the same problems as everyone else. I live here in Hagerstown. I see the issues. I see the strengths. And I never want to feel like people can't get in touch with me. So I've been very active on social media, trying to update people what we're doing, what's going on in the city, where they can come to participate in events. And really I think Hagerstown hasn't done that good enough in the past. And plus it's a new day. I mean, social media and being reachable there's so many different ways to connect with people now. So I really just wanted to draw community, not just input, but participation. Come out and enjoy Hagerstown again and get involved and be part of the solution, because we all know we have issues, so let's come together as a community and really solve those issues together. So that was important to me. And then just really revitalizing Hagerstown and selling ourselves and getting people here. We do have a lot of businesses coming into town. We have a lot of our big buildings that are being renovated and progress that we really didn't see for some time in the past. I feel like truly it's Hagerstown's day, and I'm not just saying that because I'm the mayor. I live here and I see like the really good things happening. We're getting a multi-use baseball stadium. We're looking at doing an indoor turf facility. We're breaking ground for a skateboard park. We haven't had a skateboard park ever here in Hagerstown. So we're really looking at investing in our youth and investing in our community and being the true definition of a revitalization.
So you're almost a year in. You're 1 year in right now. I'm talking close to the mic again, sorry. But we're 1 year in. And what things can you tell your constituents, the listeners out there? That's the fire truck outside, folks. But what can you tell your listeners and viewers and constituents? What have you accomplished in the first 10 months? What things can you say I'm proud of that I worked on?
So there's definitely a lot of things I'm proud of. I'm proud of, we did a big community cleanup day, which may sound like something very simple, but there were hundreds of people who came out and helped us all bring back some beauty in our community. We had 7 locations. We gave out gloves and trash bags and sharps containers. And it was just a real positive community event that we're going to keep going. And that was kind of the epitome of community pride. Like, let's all be part of the solution, and that was part of it. We did just get back an RFQ, a request for proposals for a indoor turf facility, which is something that we have talked about for so long here in Hagerstown. We don't have an indoor facility, and we lose out on all of that tourism of people traveling for tournaments, but also our families have to travel outside of Hagerstown almost every weekend to play sports, and that's not cool either. The skateboard park, the funding is officially secured, so we will have an incredible $800,000 skateboard park that'll be open on a ribbon cutting in May. Just a lot of improvements like that. And we also right now have a request for a branding campaign. So I'm big on marketing. I'm big on selling who is Hagerstown, and why do you that lives in Baltimore want to come to Hagerstown? Because I already heard it from you. A lot of people are like, Hagerstown, what's going on in Hagerstown? That shouldn't be the case. Everyone should know what's going on in Hagerstown. So we're going to fix that, and we're going to do it in a big way, which I think is going to be very impactful on our community. It's the 21st century, man. We got to use social media. We got to market. We got to brand ourselves, and we got to sell ourselves, or else why come here?
Good point. Maybe we can come back out here and do a couple more shows. I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So, first year's done, and I know we talked about opioids and awareness and things of that nature. That's very important to you. Little Baltimore, where does that come from? Because when I was told that, I was kind of like, help me understand this. I mean, because of Baltimore, it's a crime problem. There's a drug. I mean, every city in America right now, crime is up, point blank. That's facts.
Yes.
So why would people name this little? I mean, every city should have its own identity. Why would people call Little Baltimore? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Anytime we have like a violent crime issue episode, we get called Little Baltimore for sure. We have some youth gang issues here in Hagerstown. It's no secret. We've had some murders. Unfortunately, it kind of spiked in 2017. Thankfully, our violent crime rate is actually down. But when I say we had murders, I think in 2017 it was 9 or 10. 9 or 10,
okay.
Which is 9 or 10 too many.
Right.
Way too many. But when you compare it to Baltimore, it's not. And to be honest, none of it was random crime. It's not somebody just walking down the street and getting murdered. And any murder is not okay, and I want to be very clear in that, but it's not random crime. And there's a lot of misperceptions that our downtown is unsafe, or over here is unsafe, and we have a homeless issue, so I think people see people that don't look like them, and they automatically assume they're dangerous, and it's just not the case. But yeah, anytime something happens here that is a violent crime, we're immediately penned as Little Baltimore. And I like Baltimore. We talked about that earlier.
We did.
I understand Baltimore has a high crime rate in areas too, but from what I understand, none of that is just random either. It's not random crime. It's targeted, and there's a purpose behind it. So, we're working diligently to solve those issues. I think to solve the youth gang violence issues, you got to invest in our youth, and I think we're doing that now. Yeah. Little Baltimore.
Little Baltimore. All right. We're going to get off that topic. We're going to switch it up to something a little bit different, a little refreshing. So when I spoke to you a couple months ago, when we were trying to get this all set up, you were like, Aaron, did you know that we have the International Film Festival here for Maryland? I'm like, get out of town. I'm like, what? International Film Festival? So then, somebody was supposed to invite me up here for that, but we're not going to name any names. But
in my defense, I fractured my back 2 days before that, so give me a pass.
I don't name any names on the show. I don't do it like that. But I was like, I wanted to come up because I was like, I want to see this. And lo and behold, I see somebody on social media on the red carpet. I'm like, okay, I see how it is. They don't want the Baltimore to come here. But tell us a little bit about the Maryland International Film Festival, because I definitely want to come back here for next year to check that out. That sounds like it's a dope thing. It's an international film festival. Tell us a little bit about that. How long has it been here? How many people show up? How big is it for the economy?
Yeah, I think this is its 13th year, and it's huge for our economy. We have people come from all over the world. This year, of course, it was just a national film festival. The title didn't change, but people obviously can't come from other countries, unfortunately. But there are a lot of films that are put in every year. It's hosted a lot at our Maryland Theater here, which is just beautiful, just had a $13 million expansion on it. And then all throughout that weekend, there are different places you can go to watch the movies. The artists are here, the actors are here. We have a red carpet event, an award ceremony. It is incredible. And of course, during that weekend, all of our restaurants are filled, all of our hotels are filled, and it gets people who wouldn't normally come to Hagerstown into downtown Hagerstown. So it is very, very important for us.
I got my gear. I had my gear fresh, ready to go up here for this. And,
all right, well,
sorry,
next year.
Sorry, I get how it is. I get it. So what other things, tell listeners a little bit about if I wanted to raise my kids here. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, is this a place to raise your kids? And you've raised Layla here, and tell us a little bit about South Hagerstown, right? Tell people a little bit about it, so we can come out here and visit.
Yeah, well, we have a good school system, and especially if your student is artsy, we have the Barbara Ingram School for the Arts here, which is an arts high school. It is absolutely second to none. You go watch their shows and it's like you're on Broadway. They are just phenomenal. We're an arts and entertainment district, so the city of Hagerstown is really invested in arts and entertainment. We have a cultural trail that you can walk from our downtown. It's currently being expanded even more, but right now you can walk from the heart of our downtown to our beautiful city park. And if you've never been to Hagerstown City Park, you're really missing out. It's actually voted one of the top 5 most beautiful man-made parks in the country, and it is absolutely beautiful. We have a museum for fine arts here that has just classic art. They change their art shows all the time. And we're a bike city. We have walking trails, and a lot of our second and third story apartments and condos are being renovated right now, so it's almost like you can come and live in downtown and feel like you're in Baltimore or Philadelphia or DC and have a more urban feel, or you can still move to the suburbs, the outskirts of Hagerstown corporate limits, and have, a white picket fence in a backyard. So it's definitely a good mix.
So I'm noticing, I'm throwing a wrinkle here. How much apartments down here cost downtown on Potomac Avenue? How much they start off, Right
now, we have anywhere from $800 to $2,000.
It's not bad at all.
It's affordable. Especially, you can come here and in some of our neighborhoods buy a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house for $300,000, $350,000. We have 8,000 square foot large mansion type homes that are older that were built here previously that you can get for less than $600,000. So when you compare it to the same quality and size home in other areas in Maryland, it's unbeatable.
Are you getting a lot of commuters that work in DC and Maryland living here or PA? Where are a lot of people working, and where are they resting their head here, but where are they working right now?
So thankfully, a lot of them are starting to come here and stay here. We do have a lot of people that commute, though. We have people that commute to Frederick, to Rockville, to D.C., to Baltimore, because, Baltimore and D.C. are about an hour drive. So it's easy to live here, which is with a significantly lower cost of living, and then commute out for a job. And of course, as a city, we are actively looking at bringing in higher paying jobs so that way people don't have to commute. You can live here and work here.
Nice. So, all right, you went through the hard part now. Now. Here we go. Here we go. Yep. Rapid fire.
All right.
What inspires you every day?
My daughter and my parents.
Your favorite TV show?
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and Beat Bobby Flay.
Okay.
I have 2.
Crab cakes or crabs?
Crabs all day.
Flats or drums?
Flats, as spicy as possible.
Blue cheese or ranch?
Blue cheese.
All right, we good now. I was going to make sure we good. All right, I was going to worry about you for a second. The beach or the pool?
Beach.
TikTok or Instagram?
Oh, that's tough. Instagram.
What is the best advice you've ever received?
Councilmember McIntyre told me to treat my daughter like a cat. So are you ready for this? 13-year-old. They're moody. She's grumpy. And how was your day? Fine. How was this? Fine. You know, typical 13-year-old response. And as a mom, I want more. And I overbear. And come on, give me more, give me more. So Councilmember McIntyre told me to treat her like a cat. The more you pet a cat or want a cat near you, the less they pay attention to you. But if you ignore them, then they come and want affection. So when you ignore the 13-year-old, then she comes back for affection. So best advice I'd ever been get it, and it works.
Favorite place to take visitors from out of town when you come here?
The Cultural Trail. Yeah.
Redskins. Oh, sorry, folks. I know that's PC. Washington team, whatever they are.
The Washington football team.
Who's your favorite player on the team? All-time favorite player.
All-time favorite player, Joe Jacoby.
Okay, all right. Social media platforms, where can we find you? Where can we reach out? Where can we, if we want to shout you out and just whatever, how can we find you?
I'm on Facebook as Mayor Emily Keller. I'm on Instagram as Mayor Emily Keller. And I am on TikTok as Mayor Emily Keller.
Folks, you heard it here first. We out in Hagerstown. We doing it up big. And again, I told you, we're going to interview all over the state. We're going to make it happen because we're going Baltimore and beyond. And I'm hoping if the mayor lets us come back to Hagerstown, we got some more stories up here that need to be told.
It's a date. And
hopefully we can get on her list. It just took about 5 months, so hopefully we can get there. I can get here hopefully midsummer next year. So.
You're in now.
Folks, anything else you want to say, Mayor?
No, just thank you very much for having me, and you're doing big things down there. Keep it up.
I'm just trying my best, to give us stories that, people can learn a little bit more about Hagerstown.
Yeah, we need this. More of this.
Folks, love, peace, happiness, we're out.